the team context specificity of all this I don't think has reared its ugly head too much in the first 19 players taken. Mm-hmm. It is going to rear its ugly head now because the first player on the next tier, and this is part of the complexity of this player is part of the reason he's in this next tier as opposed to the tier that we just got done, is that I don't think that there are any teams in the league who, if they were offered a chance to take him on, would say no. Mm-hmm. But objectively speaking, you could look at this player and be like, I'm not sure if this is a good contract. And I'm pulling up the contract right now. And
I think I know who it is.
Do you now?
Did he have an outstanding NBA playoffs?
As he always does. And he is set to get paid. Ready for this?
I'm ready.
$37.6 million this year, $45 million next season, $48 million season after that, and $52.4 million in the 25-26 season. That's a player option. And by that time, he will be entering his age 36 season. And I don't know what his body's going to be like by then. And of course, I'm talking about Jimmy Butler. I have Jimmy Butler 20. And I have Jimmy Butler 20 because he's the best player on one of the 2 or 3 or 4 most sound, well-run organizations in the sport. It always seems to find themselves in the finals every, several years. And he is the foundation of everything they do culturally, on the court. Every playoffs, you just said it. We watch him play, and he's like, "Oh, this is when it matters." One of the 10 best guys in the league, and that's probably underselling it. I don't know. And again, I feel like I said this for a bunch of guys last year. You could, but for Jimmy, you could tell me Jimmy's way too high, and I'd be like, all right, but this feels right for me.
So I'm just gonna quick recap because it'll lead to my question. John's first 19, 1 Luka, 2 Giannis, 3 Tatum, 4 Anthony Edwards, 5 Embiid, 6 Jokic, 7 Steph, 8 Ja Morant, 9 Cade, 10 Booker, 11 Zion, 12 Trey, 13 LaMelo, 14 Garland, 15 Cat, 16 KD, 17 Scotty Barnes, 18 Kawhi, 19 Donovan Mitchell, and 20 Jimmy Butler. And this is where I have to ask the question. If Pat Riley, in a moment of honesty and in a moment of clarity, said, I would trade Jimmy Butler for LeBron James.
Oh, no.
You don't think he would? That he couldn't, you don't think he could? He thinks he could convince Jimmy Butler or convince LeBron to retire in Miami. So that the fact that he's on his last year, doesn't matter.
I think this is going to seem like a bullshit response. I think you're cheating the exercise a little bit.
Okay.
Because Jimmy Butler has 4 more years on his contract. Granted, as we just went through, the last 1 or 2 of those years may not be particularly pretty. But I do still think that is a value. I think Jimmy, he's such an interesting player because he is really one of one in the league today. He is a player that plays a position that is ostensibly a perimeter position that everyone else who does what he does in the game today can shoot a 3-pointer. And I know Jimmy hits threes in some big games, and he certainly hits them in the playoffs.
Well, that's the thing. It's literally the playoffs is when he hits threes. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's really the only time he takes them. I know he takes some in the regular season, but the point is he is not built in the same way, and he could get away with it because he's so goddamn good at getting to the line. And he's so crafty around the rim and making these tough shots. And and the passing obviously is the other thing that sets him apart. He's, other than LeBron, he's the best passing wing in the league, unless you consider Luka a wing, which I don't. Luka was a point guard. Point is, he is a one of one sort of player. And I'm not 100% sure how well that player ages, but I I think Miami is happy to bet on it that he's going to age fine. I just was looking at the other guys that I had in contention to be in the to round out the top 20. I couldn't put any of them higher than him. I just couldn't do it.
There's a lot he brings, that, knock on wood, to Heat culture. That you can't really quantify. Like, he is probably as high as he is right now because of the team he plays for, as you've so far put it.
Yeah.
By the way, lot of Jimmy Butler jerseys all around Miami. By the way, that's why I was there.
As they should. If I was
just saying, as of 2 weeks ago, like, I saw more
Heat fan.
I saw more Jimmy Butler jerseys than like Dwayne Wade jerseys. And I guess I expected. I have another. You know what they sold at Slam when I went there looking for a Mets hat before I went to the game while I was there? A retro Latrell Sprewell with the black on the side. I almost bought it, but it was $150. But yeah, so that honestly was like the biggest indicator that the Knicks need to trade for Donovan Mitchell to take you down a rabbit hole, because you know who because everybody else in the room, every other team was represented, and what did the Knicks have as their representative for buy this player's jersey from this team? Latrell Sprewell, who hasn't played for the Knicks since 2002. All that being said, Jimmy Butler,
probably the right jersey.
Jimmy Butler featured prominently in the beginning, and the right jersey would be Carmelo Anthony. Thank you very much.
Fine. Look, I ranked him the 5th greatest thing of all time.
I know you should.
He's very good. Okay. 21. And again, I have a lot of guys in this next group. I hemmed and hawed, but I feel good about this next tier. Again, you're right. Your individual rankings may vary. I have SGA at 21, which feels, in my gut, I feels too high for me. I originally had him 5 or 6 spots lower, just because I can't tell yet if he is that level of playmaker, that level of scorer. Like, so for instance, at his position last year, so he was a point guard. He's a point guard who had under a 30 assist percentage. Season before that, he had a 31.1 assist percentage. His first 2 years, he was one of them. He was playing next to Chris Paul in the first year he was in LA, so I don't even count those. But like, I don't know. I don't know what. I'm still not quite sure what SGA is. What I do know is that he is an incredibly efficient player. He's a guy who drives relentlessly. I think he led the league in drives last year. I could check that real quick. And he's a guy who is obviously big. He's 6'6", so the size matters here. And defensively, he's obviously very good. And I just I believe in the parts of his game that are still coming along, to the point that when I look at his age and I say he's only 24 years old and his team has 5 more years of control over him, that feels like a big deal. And at the same time, he feels a little high for me.
I gotta be honest, I have no clue how to quantify the value of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Why do you say that?
Because I have no idea, based on his team situation, if they view him as a trade asset or an untradeable piece. I don't know if Sam Presti looks at him as like, I wouldn't trade him for this, and that. Or if it's like, well, how many picks? Oh, really? All right, sure. SGA is yours.
See, here's where I disagree. I don't think that, that's why in a lot of Knicks fans who've been like, oh, don't give up the farm for Donovan Mitchell. You could just turn around and get SGA maybe for a little bit less. I think there comes a point in time where you can't trade for more picks. And I think Sam Presti is about at that point, which is why we saw him give up 3 first-round picks for Ousmane Dieng.
Yeah.
From the Knicks in the draft. I think the reports about Sam entertaining trading Shai for Cade, or for the pick that became Cade, if I recall correctly, the reports were Shai and 5 to move up to 1.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was, I forget what pick did they have in that draft.
They had 5. They had Giddey.
That's right. Because they took Giddey ahead of whoever everybody had slotted at the fifth pick.
6. It was 6 because Suggs went 5. Or is it vice versa? That they had 5 and then I'll look it up while you.
No. You're right. They did not have 5. They had 6. It was They had the 6th pick and it was Giddey. Yeah. The point is like the fact that he was willing to entertain that trade tells me that he is not sold on SGA being like, he's the guy who's going to have the ball in his hands, like time after time after time, my offense and like lead the show. And I know that I am eventually going to reach, contender status with that. And if he's not that, and he is a guy with what is still, I think, not a questionable 3-point shot, because I think his 3 is good. I'll look up the numbers right now. But like, again, I always go back to pull-up stats. Like, how are you pulling up from deep? Like Shea took 245 pull-up 3-point attempts this year, which was a lot. It was in the top 20 in the league. He hit them at 27.3%, which is the lowest number out of anybody who took that many pull-up threes. The next worst was Devontae Graham, who took 214. And then that's really it in the top 50. So it's a still emerging part of his game. There's a lot to like there. And to your point, I don't know what to make of him because we haven't seen really a team be like, hey, we have this guy. Let's make the most of it. OKC has gone the opposite direction. They made the least of it.